Hey, it's your boy Bobby Beast here. I want to talk about a subject that comes to mind, that is, did Ghost and Rock ever cross paths? Basically, when it comes down to it, I wonder this. The reason why is because basically Ghost and Tommy have not been introduced in Raising Kanan just yet, and we really don't know what's going to happen. Now, me personally, I'm hoping that Rock lives. I hope she doesn't die. Every character doesn't die. Every criminal does not die. Some criminals live long enough to retire, whether they got a career in the career world or a career in the streets. Some of them live, and Rock should be one of the characters that go on to live. I'd love to see her pop up in book 2 Ghost somewhere down the line. However, when it comes down to it, did she ever see Ghost? Did she ever meet him? Now, I spoke on this a couple of years ago, but basically I think they have to cross paths with one another because Ghost was so connected with Kanan that Kanan looked at Ghost like family. He looked at Tommy and Ghost like they were his little brothers, and he loved them. And they obviously love him because when they wanted Kanan out of the way, Tasha was like, take him out. But Ghost was like, nah, I love him too much. That's my brother. I'm not taking him out. And even though those two had conflict and Ghost left Kanan for dead, at the end of the day, when Kanan really did die, it broke his heart as well as Tommy. So when it comes down to it, did they ever cross paths? I want to say they most definitely did. The thing about Ghost was that apparently he was the quiet one. And not only was he the quiet one, he was a good shooter. And some of you guys have mentioned this the same way I have a couple of years ago too, that young Ghost should favor Michael from The Wire to some degree because Michael was a very quiet kid, but he could do whatever needs to be done. The only thing is that you really couldn't figure out, anything about him. He didn't display how he felt. He didn't display anything, but you did know he was smart and he had a heart. Much like how Ghost was. When people describe young Ghost, it's pretty much he was quiet, always kept his face in the book all the time. That's like the running theme with him when he was young. But at the end of the day, when it comes down to it, did Rock ever came across him? Rock had to come across Ghost. When it comes down to it, Kanan is too connected with her not to see him. Tommy had to come across Rock to some degree too, but when it comes down to it, did Ghost ever talk to Rock? Did he ever listen to her? Anything of that nature? Perhaps. And why I'm going to say this is because remember this, Ghost did not want to stay in that life. Obviously, somewhere along the lines, he knew it was not going to last forever. And he probably made that up in his mind when he was young. But by the time we got to book 1, it was like, yo, I'm at this point. Now I need to leave this life. And that's what he was trying to do. Now, Rock wanted to do the same thing that Ghost ended up doing. It's just she was going to let it go once she got to that point where Ghost himself was at that point wanting to let it go. And people just did not want him to let it go. So when it comes down to it, it was mainly his friends keeping him in that life. And the thing is, if Rock was around or something along those lines, because if Rock was talking to him and they had any conversations, I'm pretty sure Rock would have supported him in leaving that lifestyle or going away. Or it could be a situation with him knowing that he set up Kanan, he couldn't look Rock in the eye. Who knows? All I know is that they had to have crossed paths and there had to be some talk, some conversation or something. And Ghost probably ended up being the guy who actually listened to Rock said about this life is not for you. Do what you got to do in it and then leave. Because everybody else wanted to stay in it. They never saw past it. Tommy never saw past it. Tasha never saw past it. Kanan never saw past it. Tariq never saw past it in book 1. In book 2, he does now. But at the end of the day, when it comes down to it, did Kanan and Ghost, not Kanan and Ghost, did Rock and Ghost ever cross paths? I believe they did. I hope they did. And we are going to see if they cross paths, but I'm hoping they did. But I just want to say to all of you that it is your boy, Bobby Beast here. I just want to say much love, much respect. Hold it down. And